entitled Creative Nonfiction. So it'll give you an example of what we're talking about. The first one, what I noticed about it was the description. There's a lot of description, there's a lot of adjectives. The writer's taking you there to that place with him and his dad fishing. And then he goes off on this describing the shell or the clam life that they're looking at in scientific detail, almost like you're watching the Discovery Channel. So what I'm thinking, at least in this one, with the creative nonfiction, he's taken something that happened, it's a historical event for him. He's put in scholarly research as far as what this clam is and the name of it and how they live and all that. And he's wrapped it around, or wrapped his core stuff there with vivid descriptions, vivid feelings, how it felt to be there with his dad, and that's where the creative part comes in. As far as your memory, if the dates don't match what actually happened, it doesn't matter because it's creative nonfiction. So you don't have to do your research and have you know, all these other people and dates and interviews with other people and what they have to say about the event. It's how you remembered it. And so you can use any event.
There's also a lot of sort of exaggeration. There's a lot of embellishment, because really you're talking about your own perspective as opposed to historical fact.
Right.
And in terms of that, your reader isn't really going to care if it actually happened that way. It's more about how you perceived it.
Well, like this creative nonfiction, and or a regular paper about literacy, but I think I'm just gonna, I think that that'll be easier if I can not have to write about something, and because I feel like I'm babbling on about something that I know nothing about, and it has no structure whatsoever, so I'm hoping that'll be easier for me to do.
Okay. And is this for a class?
Mm-hmm. For English 101.
Okay.
One.
Yeah, and see, when I first got into creative nonfiction, the first thing I thought of was all those WAs you got right.
Mm-hmm.
That could be great creative nonfiction, because the nonfiction is, yeah, you actually did learn those rules of writing, or you actually did go to that class, or your writing really has improved because of this, that, or the other.
But you
can bring humor to it. You can bring fantasy to it.
Some of the best papers that I've actually read were like WA ones, and they were so amazing because they were funny, or they painted a picture very well, or they used metaphor in a really interesting way. You're editing a film. I mean, the way it's edited says something about that film.
Yeah.
So it's the way you organize the information that you put in there.
Yeah. I'm so excited this is something you guys talk about a lot here, because I think a lot of people who don't call themselves writers or creative writers are doing themselves an injustice, because what they're doing is creative, and it is a special kind of artistic writing. But just because it's not poetry, they don't categorize themselves a certain way.
Or it's not a book.
Right. I mean, I definitely write creative nonfiction. I mean, I definitely do, because I have this, 6 years of journals I've written in almost every day, and sometimes I go back and read the better ones, like the ones that are just especially amusing or especially interesting, and those, sometimes I think I'd like to do something with those, but I think that memoir is an opportunity for me to do something with that, and I never thought of that before this week. Thank you. Yeah. Done differently in her 20s, or what she would have done differently when she was single, and so she gives advice, but she does it in a way that tells stories about her past. That seems like creative nonfiction to me, like absolutely. Yeah.
If you tell a story about your past, I don't think you can help but be creative.
I'm still hung up on the flannel, sorry.
Well, and I think before it got started, this creative nonfiction being a label, it was an essay.
Ah.
From reading the other journals, it's like they don't have it broken up into poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and creative nonfiction. They have it broken up into poetry, fiction, nonfiction, and essays.